let's do some collision work. All right. First of all, I want to destroy these asteroids as they go below the screen. And we're just going to create an object here called ground. Will be at the same position with the markers, so it's minus 4.5. It will be very wide, 40, and it shouldn't be seen by the camera. Okay, we can remove the graphics from it. We don't need them. Also, I said these markers will not have renderers. They just exist here, and also let's drop the colliders. We just need their position, and that's it. Perfect. The ground, it needs the collider. Right. So let's set up some layers, connect some collision layers. So let's ground asteroid. And let's keep it like this for now. Let's put this on the ground layer. Let's go to the asteroid, put it on the asteroid layer. Yes, all children. Now, I don't remember. No, the ground is, what I can say? We are not moving this using physics, right? We're moving it by ourselves. And because it has a collider on it, whenever we move something, it has to have a rigid body on it. And we're not using gravity. We're using our own forces or translations. And it is kinematic because we are manipulating its position ourselves. And it needs this like, otherwise physics will try to move it somewhere. We are trying to move it somewhere else. Shit will happen. Now, because it is kinematic, it will not trigger collisions with colliders unless those colliders are marked as triggers, I think. So let's test this. We're going to add another component, asteroid collider. Asteroid. Should it be that specific asteroid collider, or should it be just a collider helper? We'll see in a minute. Now we have to put this script where the collider is, unfortunately. Let's put it up top. Collapse all these. The collider helper will call a method on trigger enter whenever it hits a trigger. So let's write here debug log other name. So let's just disable the asteroid spawner for now. Put one of these asteroids in the scene somewhere. Hit play. Go to scene mode and move it down. And it set ground because it collided with the ground, which is here but hidden. Look at it. So this is how we're going to detect collisions, right? So what does the asteroid do? Should it be a collider helper or should it be a specific? Because if it's the asteroids obviously do damage to something and destroy it, but the missiles also do the same thing, right? They do call or destroy whatever they touch. So it's the same thing for both the asteroid and the missile. So we are going to do something here. If other game object try get component out I damage receiver, damage receiver, take damage, right? If we collide with something that has this component on it, it tells it to take damage. We don't have this component yet, so let's create it. Scene scripts, what I damage receiver. It's a simple interface. interface. I'm so tired. So what it has a method called receive damage. For now, everything that it touches, it gets destroyed. There is no health value or anything. Okay, and we have damage receiver. These interfaces kind of seem like over engineering at this point, but damage receiver, we'll see in the future. What does this do? For now, destroys the object. Destroy game object. So what's the problem with take damage? Didn't I receive damage? Rename it to take damage. Okay, now everybody's happy. So the asteroid collided with something. It doesn't matter. It tries to tell it to take damage, and after that it should destroy itself. Destroy game object. Right. So, who for now has this damage receiver? The houses will have a component damage receiver on them, and also the cannons will have this damage receiver on them. I didn't put layers on these, so let's add some layers. House, cannon. Okay, the house has the layer house with all its children. We have a problem. We have a small problem. And this one is also cannon. Yeah, this is the cannon. Yeah. So whatever the... Let's go to the script. The asteroid spawner, no asteroid collider helper, yeah. When it gets the other collider, it gets this one of these objects if it collides with a cannon. So if it tells it to destroy itself, it only destroys this one. So the damage receiver is not here. It will never find it. The damage receiver should be on these. Should be on top. On these two. And it needs something else. It needs a reference to the parent, so it destroys the parent. Private game object parent. Right, so it destroys the parent, not this game object. Come on, come on, come on. We drag the cannon in here. Take the other one. Right. And the house the same. I'm gonna remove this one. Select these two, add the damage receiver, put it on top, and drag the house parent to it. Right, so now when the asteroids come down and touch the houses, I disable the spawner. The houses should get destroyed, only they are not. Why? What is going on? The asteroids get destroyed when touching the ground, but they don't seem to be getting these. Why? Why doesn't it work? Where is the damage receiver destroy? Do they manage to swim? No. Does it call this method or not? Okay, let's destroy this one and enable the spawner again. Come on. Nobody calls anything. Collider helper. What is the game object? Ground. 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 So they are only colliding with ground for some reason. Houses on layer house, cannon on layer cannon. This is the ground and the asteroid is here. How does the collision matrix look like? Everything is hitting everything. So I forgot something. I forgot to put these as triggers. Yeah. And the cannon as well. These are the it has different colliders. Trigger. Now it should work. Famous last words. Take damage. Destroy. Tank. And it's gone. Great. We have done this. Now we should figure out how to fire at these motherfuckers. So whenever I click, I leave a marker there. I select the closest. No, I select the closest available cannon. If there is none, I don't do shit. If there is one, I put a marker there and I launch a missile. And I tell that cannon to fire at this position. Right, so in the environment, we're going to add a script. Is it in the environment? Yeah, it's in the environment. It's going to handle touching the screen. So let's call it input handler. This input handler, it's going to, come on, update. On update, it's checking if input get mouse button down 0. That will be left click. And we're going to create a ray, screen point to ray at mouse position. And if raycast cast array how do you, if physics raycast, of course, raycast out heat. We're going to need some more variables here. Math infinity. What is the position of the camera? The environment is at 0, 0, 0, 0, and the camera is at -10. So I think 111, this should be the distance of the, and layer cast ground. We need to, what am I doing? I'm gonna add a plane here in the environment, call it plane, input plane. Rotate it around x-axis, -90, and scale it to fit the whole goddamn 3.4. Let's lift it up, 6, 5, and let's increase it, 3. This plane will be on the layer, input plane, where are you? Input plane. And let's remove the whole mesh of it, we don't need it, we don't need to see it. Let's go back to the script. So if I'm touching that wall, which is on the layer input plane, I'm gonna get position in the world. These bother me, so I'm gonna remove them. And I'm going to tell somebody where the user pressed. How am I going to tell somebody? I'm gonna create a scriptable object variable, and this is where the globals variables folder will come in handy. This will be scriptable object variables, which will be holding data that is relevant at runtime, not outside of runtime. So let's call a folder called variables. I'm gonna make a bunch of them. So let's create a script called variable. It's going to be a scriptable object. I have done this many times, so let's remember. File name, no, because this is a bit of an abstract class variable of type T. Now it's going to have a protected T value and protected T double default value. Is this thing reading my mind or what? These values can be written and read, only the value. And because this is being changed at runtime, we don't want the asset to keep this value outside of runtime. So we're going to derive from iSerialize the callback receiver, this one, and on after deserialize, you mean every time you deserialize, which is what I care when I'm exit play mode, the value will be default value. So we are basically resetting the value. But I don't want people to, I want people to have the option to delegate void value changed delegate public event value changed event, and this will hold the so when this is set, value changed event invoke with value. It has the same name. So whenever this one gets changed, this will scream value changed to whoever is interested. Now, what do I want to, what type of variable? Position will be a vector3. So let's call a vector3 variable, which is a variable vector3. Nothing in here, it already is handled by the base class. File name vector3 variable, put an underscore in front. Variables, let's call it data variables vector3 variable. Now let's go here and create data variables vector3 variable, input position. And let's go back to input handler. It's going to have a reference to this, so scriptable object vector3 variable input position variable and value. What the fuck? Hold on. Mistakes were made. This is not protected, it's public. Now, value, okay, equals hit point. And whenever I set this value, it is set and it is screamed out loud to whoever is interested. Who is interested? Canon, I need this variable. So this one sets in here. So the Canon controller, that will be interested of this position. Let's call it Canon controller. This one is going to sit on the environment as well today. Canon controller. Even though they right now sit on the same object, and I could easily just say get component input handler. I do not want the controller to know about the class name input controller or wherever the hell this input value comes from. So it's only going to care about this variable, vector3 variable should position variable. As far as this script is concerned, that is the value where it should shoot. It should also have a list of, and I am sorry, but I cannot put interfaces serialized fields in here. You could make a script to filter, but we're just trying to get a prototype done. What is it? It's a list of canons. Right. We do not have this class canon yet. With double N here as well. So on start, we're going to subscribe to that on value changed event. So we know whenever it's changed, on value changed event. And I'm gonna call it on should position set. Now on when we get destroyed, we should forget about this. We unhook ourselves from this event. So I did some stupid shit anyway. So. Right, on shoot position set, we get the closest cannon to this position, right? We have the list of cannons, we know their positions. So for each cannon, come on, why didn't you? God damn it. Okay, so we're gonna compare this position with the closest cannon closest cannon. We're going to initialize it with null, and now closest distance float max value. And let's compare this if cannon. First, let's check if it's not null. It gets nulled when it gets destroyed. And cannon can fire a property, and cannon transform position let's call it vector 3 square magnitude what are we comparing here? The distance between these two. Square this cannon's position and value is smaller than closest position distance. Now we have a better cannon than the previous one. Closest cannon equals cannon, closest distance equals this. What's the problem here? It's not used in any execution path. Right. So we have done all of this. We've gone through all the cannons. We have managed to, or not, select the closest cannon to the fire position that's coming from the mouse. So if closest cannon is not null, closest cannon fire at position. This is the logic. Now we have to create the cannon class. So this one will be watching the same, will be watching this variable. We're not gonna need to create the cannon script.